Hey everyone, Lance again and welcome back to the channel. So first things first, a little bit of update on content. I want to limit these store update videos or potentially cram more into them and only do maybe 2 a week as opposed to the current rate of 4. I still want to do 4 videos a week, but I want to hopefully mix it up with maybe like a product talk or some content with Matt, maybe like a double talking head video or potentially even painting some stuff. Some of that content is obviously harder to execute, especially given the time that we've got and running a store, so please bear with us. If there's any suggestions for other types of content, then I'm absolutely all ears. Put it in the comments below. I know a lot of people have already suggested stuff already, but again, some of that is harder to put into practice, so I'm pinching myself to try and get stuff like that done, and we'll see how it goes in future. Also, apologies in advance if you hear any banging in the background. There's some construction going on in a unit just over. So let's talk a little bit how last week ended. Now, it ended really strong. In fact, we had our best day over the weekend. It comes off the back of the Saturn Horus Heresy going up for pre-order and the Space Wolves getting released. We nearly sold through all of our Space Wolves stock, which is cool. I'm going to place an order today for some more, but I managed to acquire some more over the weekend as well. So that's come back into stock. We had a few online orders for it too. In terms of Horus Heresy stuff, we sold a Saturn box last night, so not actually when the store was open, somebody ordered it online. But when the store was open, we had a chunk of the books sell through, which, yeah, all contributed to our strongest day so far. So last week was really good for all intents and purposes, which is super positive and I'm happy about. I also want to talk a little bit about customer experience in this video. So, as probably a lot of people know, a wealth of money every year is spent on merchandising, customer perception, customer, feel. I remember when we worked in PC World as well, they used to do some research on like where people's eyes go when they're shopping, and I'm sure all these big brands possibly do something similar along those lines when they're designing their their units and stuff like that. So in that type of mindset, I tend to walk the store or sometimes watch how people go through the store. Again, it's a small space, right? So there is limitations, but there become certain like choke points and certain things which probably don't get seen as enough as or as well as they should. So one of the reasons I keep moving the store around is because that it's off the back of that type of like experience feel. Is it becoming too cramped here? Is something too hidden? Even though I want that treasure trove vibe, I don't want something to be completely obscure to the point no one will ever look at it, especially if it's stock that should theoretically sell quite quickly. You know what I mean? And the reason I'm saying all this is because a video one or two videos ago, I said more store Tetrising, and I moved some store stuff around, and it looks really like it's starting to look really full and solid. But there's a few points in there where I'm just like, maybe we could do a bit better. So it's Monday as I'm recording this, and as I've said in the past, Mondays and Tuesdays early on tend to be the times that are most quiet. You might only get 1 or 2 people in until the afternoon. So I'm going to take that opportunity now to do some more Tetrising, Jenga type store maneuvering. And yeah, it's one of those things like I think about it when I go home, and sometimes it keeps me up at night. So I'm laying out the store in my head and thinking, can it work? I've done some measuring this morning. I think it can. It's one of those things. There's a lot of stuff. I'll try and show you now. All these units here in the background are obscuring a lot of the slat wall. So I want to get them off the wall and probably have them in the middle aisle or up against the window. Considering we don't have much space, I don't really see many people like looking in or anything like that. And we tend to have like banners and flyers and stuff like that, or posters on the window. So I'm probably going to lean into that just a little bit more and put units against the window so that you know, we've got all our posters and stuff that advertise like what we do and what we are. Let people then come in, and then hopefully we'll have a little bit more room and merchandise it in a way that's a bit more, I don't know, easy to navigate or easy to see the stuff that needs to be seen. So you saw the last video, but one I think it was, the Tetrising video. Have a look at that, how the store was, and then I will show you soon what the store looks like now that it's been moved around. Join me then. So the moving around has been done, and yeah, I'll be on my feet during this, so for anybody who gets a bit disorientated by that, now is your warning. I got my first workplace injury as well. I think I pulled my deltoid in moving stuff around, so yeah, I did not feel good after doing all this yesterday, but it is what it is. So I don't know if you can get a good view of this. I'm just gonna try. So all the painting stuff now is by the window, and in the middle aisle you've got your GW racks and your FSDUs, and then down the side wall goes from painting, hobby supplies, and then miniatures, and game stuff. And then finally we end up with some colour forge and then some more miniatures. I'll do a proper walkthrough at another point. Pardon me. The cleaners are in, so they're going to make a lot of noise. So I think what I want to do here is I want to take the opportunity to sit down and answer some questions. So let's get to that. Okay, so yeah, let's get some questions in, and we'll just read them out and then reply, doing it live. So another question by Lance. Hi Lance. Again, it's not me, it's someone else. From YouTube. The store is looking really good. It is starting to have an Aladdin's Cave vibe. I know this is something you wanted. This may be a bit of a personal question, but how is Suzanne doing with all of this? I know you mentioned her a few times, but as the old adage goes, behind every great man, there is a woman helping them along. Again, another great video. Keep up the great work. Thanks for the question, Lance, and again, thanks for the repeated support. So, Suzanne, I did actually pose her this question. Well, I posed the question to her about, like, you know, what does she think about the store and me running the store? And she said, she echoed what one of my friends was saying as well, which was like, maybe you should take another day off, or go on holiday at least or something like that. But yeah, she's fine with it ultimately though. To be fair, Suzanne has been very supportive when it comes to my career. So we used to live in a place called Gatley, and then I wanted to move to a place called Weaverham to be closer to work. She gave up her job. She moved with us, obviously. And then I wanted to move, you know, this is all in the northwest, and then I wanted to move down south to pursue another job. And yeah, she gave up her job that she had there, and we moved down south. We stayed there for a good chunk of time, and then when a family member fell ill, I think I may have mentioned this before, that's when I gave up my position there. Well, I didn't actually give up my position, I worked remotely, so we moved back up north, and I worked remote, and then COVID hit, so. But, you know, she's always allowed me to just chase what I want. You know, part of that, I guess, is because I've always been, like, the primary earner. But, you know, without Suzanne, like, she dealt with a lot of the Etsy stuff, which was, you know, she deals with deliveries and stuff like that now, purely because it eats up a lot of time on my part, and that's time I can invest in something else. So she'll do all the packing for the most part, apart, you know, unless it's super heavy. She'll cure all the prints, she'll clean most of the smaller prints. The bigger ones I tend to like and want to do myself, but, you know, she'll do all that. So, you know, she'll make me my tea, and she'll wash my clothes, my homeless clothes, as somebody said. Yeah, so she, you know, she obviously supports me a lot, and we have dogs, and she, you know, she helps look after them. You know, when they need to go out for toilet at night, you know, I'll stay in bed and she'll let them out and stuff like that. So yeah, um, she she supports me like that essentially. She allows me to get on with the stuff that I want to get on with, while she almost sweeps up behind, for lack of a better phrase. So yes, she's supported. She's fine with it. Unless she's hiding her true feelings, she's basically said just it'd be nice if I could take a bit more time for myself. But other than that, she knows I like you know, when I got my mind set on something, I tend to like go for it, if that makes sense. So she just lets me get on. So yeah, I hope that answers the question, Lance. Thanks for the question. Okay, next question from what Worcester War Games, I believe that is. I guess that's a store or something. So there's your plug. He asks, but really enjoying your regular update. It's great to see another indie store opening and going well. Is your website linked to your in-store EPOS system? If it is, how have you gone about it, and who is it with? Thanks, and keep up the good work. Yeah, so I can answer that. Yes, so my EPOS, for people who don't know, is electronic point of sale system. So that's your till, essentially, and your interface for all that stuff. So in this instance, I have an iPad with, you know, a card reader and a till receipt and a cash drawer and all that type of stuff. What most people will have, essentially. I try to set it up in a similar way to the way other hobby stores or GW have their store, essentially. So it is linked to my website as well. So it's all done through Shopify. I bought the hardware from eBay. I got it all. It was used, but it came new. So great. And I just got a cheap iPad to fit the system. Again, a used one, because it didn't have to be, you know, didn't need to be anything fancy. It had to be a specific iPad anyway. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, all the hardware was bought secondhand to be as frugal as possible, and it's all with Shopify, as I mentioned. So the website came from somebody else, but it's done through the Shopify platform. And then when I sell something on the EPOS system or in store, it is linked to my online inventory, and vice versa. If I get an order online and I'm in the store, to save me checking my emails, the EPOS system will flash up with a prompt saying like, you have a new order, please pick the order, and then yeah, go from there. I guess there's and this is the case with all inventory systems, right? There is a chance that somebody is ordering something and I'm deep into a conversation or dealing with a customer, and that customer is buying the same thing that somebody else is ordering. I mean, typically the hope is you have a couple of them anyway to satiate it, but there could be a crossover there. It does flag up actually where it's like, this is out of stock, do you want to sell it? Now, I can override that, and you can do loads of fancy things, and you know, there's ways of, I don't know, if the card reader goes down or the system goes down, you can pay by card. You can do a transaction on the internet and then send that to a customer's email, and they can pay for it using, you know, their online details and stuff like that. Because there's loads of ways to actually make a transaction, to try and accommodate for, you know, downtime and all that type of jazz. So I hope that answers the question. So yes, the EPOS system is linked to my online inventory. I didn't want to do it any other way, in all honesty. The only miss, and I'm sure there's an app for this anyway to link it, but if I'm selling something on eBay, that doesn't direct link to the store. So there's a larger crossover, or there's a larger time between a sale and eBay getting updated, if that makes sense. So somebody could buy something in the store or online, whilst the listing on eBay is still there for a good 5-10 minutes. Do you get what I mean? So there is, I think there's apps that communicate with each other, Shopify and eBay, but I believe they're quite expensive in my very, very small amount of research into it. That would be something I would definitely pursue if the store got a lot bigger, right? But yeah, hope that answers the question. Cheers for the question. Okay, next question comes from Aranquilinan7966 on YouTube. Loving the videos. I was wondering if you sell many of your own designs, or do you feel people come to your store just for more recognizable brands? Hobby shops can be really busy with your attention being drawn in multiple different directions. Are there cases where you feel that you have gained new customers for your range due to them coming into your store? And so this is a cool question, and yes, the good thing is the miniatures that I've made do well. I guess a case in point, on Saturday, about 50% of the miniatures that sold were actually my own. Granted, somebody came in, they bought a few mystery bags and some miniatures separately, but yeah, our miniatures do sell. I have these people who come in just for a specific range of miniatures, like the FireQuest stuff has been really popular, and also some of the cuter ranges. A lot of people, a lot of women come in and really like some of the cuter Owlkin and Tolls and Shroomies and stuff like that. So those ranges have done really well. And what's done really well, which I didn't expect, was the print failures. Now, I know, to me, when I look at it, like, oh, this particular guardsman has a broken sword, somebody will look at that and go like, oh, that's great for a D&D because it's just got a broken sword. It might be, you know what I mean? They'll imagine and superimpose these scenarios onto these broken miniatures, which are not by my design, but fit their campaign. So they get a miniature a lot cheaper than they would do if they were to buy the one that is not a failure, right? So they've surprised me. They've done, like, when I say really well, I mean like exceedingly well for something that was going to go into a landfill essentially. Yeah, they've done really good, to the point where I'll soon have to stop offering the failure mystery bags because I'm running low on the cheaper failure miniatures, because people have just been buying them. Same with, they've been buying the mystery bags for them as well. So if you want one of those failure mystery bags and you want something in it that, you want I guess numbers rather than, just a couple of miniatures, like large bust type or larger miniatures, then you need to get them in soon, because there'll be a point shortly where I'm gonna have to take them offline. There's a lot of like duplicates in those as well. So, if you're buying loads of online mystery bags, you might get some duplicates in that, because there's just like, there would have been like an entire plate that may have failed, so they've all got like a similar failure and stuff like that. And there's a lot of those have been poured into that one box. Anyway, I digress. I'm just rambling there. Do our miniatures sell? Thankfully, yes, they have done. I dedicate not an insignificant amount of wall space to it, and they are very Dungeons and Dragons adjacent. They're put right next to the WizKids models on purpose, because they do a similar thing. But in this new store layout now, all the box stuff is right next to the WizKids and the War Machine box stuff, and then all the bag stuff is lower down as well. Plus, one thing that has also worked is, because I, control the supply of those miniatures, I've been giving away, letting people roll the dice, giving away those free miniatures with each order and all that type of stuff. People have come back in going, hey, you gave me that free miniature, my girlfriend wants one. You know what I mean? Or, I want this particular one, she's been on your website, can she get that? Or they've come in, and bought more off the shelf. Yeah, we've had a couple of orders where I've had to go home, print a new one, bring it back in for the customer type of thing. So I'm quite generous with my miniatures, I feel. But one of the reasons is to get it out there, but it has saw a good return. And yeah, the profit made on them obviously is a lot greater than the profit made on like GW stock or Warlord game stock. But yeah, they do sell, which is awesome. So yeah, I definitely believe I have gained some customers. In fact, to say this, the biggest single order so far that I've made on the Epics'N'Stuffs website and store, the biggest single order was just consisting of my miniatures. So when that like a Saturn box goes for £170, and you know what I mean, a launch box goes for X, and a Ruinator goes for whatever it was, £100 or something like that. When we've sold all that type of stuff, to say that the biggest single order is of my miniatures. I think that goes to show they do so. Right, cheers for the question. Well, that answered it. So I think we'll call the video there. It's going to be quite a long one, I feel. I always feel like I just go on and on and on. But I hope this again, behind the scenes and, you know, genuine discussion, I hope it feels genuine enough. Between you and me, I love the questions. So if you have more questions, then by all means, pop them in the comments below, and I'll either do a segment like this where I answer a couple in a row, or I'll just, you know, answer throughout the videos like I have done in the past. Like, subscribe if you've enjoyed these types of videos. If you've got any suggestions, again, like I mentioned earlier, pop them down in the comments below. Visit the website, visit the Patreon, my mini factory, all that good stuff. And I will leave it there, and so I don't go on forever. Yep, take care, have fun, everyone, and speak soon.